Ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the podcast. Got a special guest here today. Talk some business, entrepreneurship. Kelly, Roach, what's going on? How are you?
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. I'm doing good.
Yes,
Thanks for having me.
No, definitely. Let's get into the conversation. I like to just jump in the deep end, start inspiring all the content creators, entrepreneurs, the business owners, and things like that. For you, speak to a time in business when you overcame adversity. And what did that look like for you?
Oh, man. I feel like every day is an exercise in overcoming adversity, to be honest. I started my first business in 2012. I was working full time. And I think one of the first hurdles that I came over or overcame in business was figuring out how I was going to grow my business in like 3 hours a day, right? Because I still have my executive job. I have a little baby at home early on in the entrepreneurial journey. And so just really changing my mindset to believe that I could succeed in those fractional hours, and then really challenging myself to identify and define and commit to the things that really mattered and only the things that really mattered to finally get my business, growing at a rapid pace and, to build it to the point where I could, I actually built it to 7 figures while I was working full time still. So I think that mindset shift was a huge hurdle to overcome. And I think being an entrepreneur for over a decade now, I think that a lot of the hurdles that we have to overcome are in the mind, to be honest, more so than the physical realm. I think it's the battle of your own mind, right? Because the things that we have to do in and of themselves aren't that hard. It's the mental game of, committing and then persisting in doing them, right?
When you talk about persisting, right, there's got to be some times where you hear different business owners, males, females, be like they want to persist in their goals. What's that first thing? I know it's very easy. I feel like everybody says the easy thing is like, show up. But like, what's that first thing they got to do? Like before we hit the record button, we got into the whole, what time do we wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for you, like, what would be that first piece of value you'd give them?
Well, adding value for people every single day, right? Because your income is ultimately determined by your impact. And the first thing that you have to do every single day, if you want to reach a broader audience and if you want to serve more people, AKA have more people pay you in exchange for your services, is you have to impact more people, right? But it's a really long game. And I think a lot of people think, oh, I created content. Now where's the money? Right? And that's just one step in the process. So I think it's showing up every day. It's adding value. It's reaching out and connecting with people. It's getting visible, right? It's being in front of the camera. It's being in front of the microphone. And it's extending invitations, right? Whether it's booking a call, sending a link for someone to join, inviting someone to say yes to a product, program, or service. So I always break it down into kind of the 3 C's, right? So content, conversations, and consultations. And that should lead to the 4th C, which is closes, right? And we all love the money in the bank. But, I always think of growing a business like an athlete. If you're on a basketball team, you're going to come in every single day, you're going to warm up, and then you're going to run drills. And you're going to warm up and run drills every single day. And you're going to focus on the fundamentals before you start building these like complex, plays that you want to run with the rest of the team. And as entrepreneurs, one of the biggest setbacks that I think people face is that they want to run the complex plays without coming in and doing the warm up and running the drills each day. And so that's the biggest thing. And that's why I said at the beginning of the show that it's really a game of the mental, the mental game of entrepreneurship, because what we have to physically do isn't so hard. It's the getting ourselves to do it. That's a lot harder than the doing it actually is. So knowing what your warm up is, knowing what the drills are for you and showing up and executing them every day, and then building on the more complex, fancy, plays that you want to do afterwards, right?
Love that you say all of that, because I feel like for me, showing up is always something I've been doing in podcasting for the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I think now you see a lot of inspiring content creators or entrepreneurs now want to put their face on camera. Mm-hmm. And they find it challenging because it's like, it's not easy for some of us to be talking into a mic, looking in the camera, finding the right angles and things like that. When was that first time for you that you did that, coming into, if it's like content creation, YouTube, things like that?
Yeah.
And like, was that something that you found was hard for yourself because of just with your business?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, I still have on an old iPod videos of myself from 10 plus years ago. And I was so nervous and I was so uncomfortable and it was really hard to listen back to them. But it just came through running the drills over and over again. And let's be honest, even as a woman, now I've done over 1,000 episodes on my own show. I've done countless interviews on other people's shows. I'm on camera all day, every single day. It is still not easy, especially as a woman moving through middle age, to be on camera, to watch yourself aging, to see all of your imperfections every single day up close, and then to be publicly visible like that. You have to push through your own ego and say, okay, I can hide because I don't feel perfect, or I don't like how I look, or whatever the case. Or you can say, you know what, me getting on camera today can actually be of service. It can actually make a difference for someone. It can actually touch and reach someone in a meaningful way. So I always say with entrepreneurship, it doesn't get easier, you get stronger. And I think that practice certainly doesn't make perfect, but it does make progress. And constant progress is all we need to make our dreams come true. We don't ever have to be perfect. We just have to constantly make progress.
Love that you say that. Music to the ears on a Monday morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Let's talk about burnout, because I have a lot of friends that are in business and they're trending into that direction.
Yeah.
I want this to be about them now, where it's like, I tell them all the time, you have to know how to have a balance between relationship, work,
for sure,
friendships, things like that. And what tends to happen is we have that one track mind. We just want to focus on the goal. We want to just build our business. We may not want to give others access to the business to help, bridge those gaps while we could have a rest time, with family and friends.
Yeah.
Talk about burnout. Let's really deep dive into that.
Is, there's this really interesting video that's floating around on the internet that shows, two balls that start at the same point. And one goes down a track that is flat and straight, and the other goes down a track that has ups and downs and ups and downs. And the ball that goes on the track that has the ups and downs actually gains more momentum and gets to the outcome faster. And it's kind of like how burnout works, right? When you just put your pedal down to the floor and you never stop, and you have just a one-track focus, and you're compromising your eating, and you're not going to the gym, and you're not taking care of yourself, you're not sleeping, you're not spending time with the people that you care about, you may think you're going to get to the end goal faster. But a lot of times what happens is, because burnout happens, people end up having either a health crisis, mental health, physical health, relationship crisis. I don't know how many people have created relationship crises where they end up getting a divorce. Let me tell you, there's nothing that will slow your business down or even make it stop faster than a mental health or physical health crisis, or the dissolution of your relationship. And so the other side of that is the ball that goes on the track that actually goes up and down, meaning there's periods of expansion, there's periods of contraction, there's periods of speeding up, and there's periods of slowing down. And when you can find that rhythm in your life where, I know for me, like, first thing I wake up in the morning, coffee, prayer, water, gym. Right? All that happens before the workday starts, right? Because I'm going to work on my mind, I'm going to work on my body before I dig into my work for the day. And, I think that when you try to just go hard 100% of the time, it ends up actually having the opposite effect. And again, for me, I've watched so many of my peers come and go. I've seen the rising stars that have kind of imploded in the sky. And my business has just been able to steadily continue to grow over a period of years. We've just on the Inc. 5000 list 2 years back to back. We've accomplished all sorts of, significant awards and contributions, building wells around the globe, all of these things. But I have been really careful to make sure that my family has continued to stay as my top priority, taking time for mental and physical health, taking time for rest. And I think that's what has allowed me to continue. It doesn't mean we're growing at a breakneck speed all the time, but it means that we have periods of working and focusing and intensely like preparing and grounding, and then we have periods where we're like out like a rocket. And I think that's just something that a lot of people that are earlier on in the game, they don't recognize, and they don't realize how devastating it can be when you sacrifice all of those other things in pursuit of success, and what that will actually do to your life.
Make some valid points. I want to echo too. Do you think burnout's like a seasonal thing also too? Because I feel like over here in Canada, we have winter, and winter feel like winter can last from November.
Listen,
I swear, sometime all the way to like
I moved
April.
because of it. I mean, I moved because of it. So I lived in Pennsylvania my entire life. And, 5 months of the year, you wake up in the morning and it's dark. You get done work for the day and it's dark. And it's so cold that you can't leave your house to do anything. And so a couple of years ago, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it was not good for my mental or physical health. And so my whole family, we picked up and we moved to Florida, and we're by the beach now. We're outside every single day. We're way more active. We're healthier. We're happier. And so to answer your question, 1,000%. I mean, I personally felt that, and I relocated because of it. And I think it's really interesting because I think, most of the time people live in a place that's in proximity to wherever they were born, just because it's in proximity to wherever they were born, right? Maybe they ended up moving to a spot nearby the college that they went to, or nearby their spouse's family, or whatever the case. But very rarely is someone living in a place that they 100% intentionally picked up and moved to optimize their life. And I think that if you're going to be an entrepreneur and build your own business, why wouldn't you have that as a top priority? Because it literally affects every single part of your life. I can give the example of even just the aging process. Up in Pennsylvania, someone's 70 years old, 80 years old, they're in a nursing home. Down here in Florida, you go for a walk in the morning and you see people 75 and 85 years old. They're walking, they're running, they're carrying fishing rods, they're going out fishing, they're dancing, they're so active, and they're living independent and healthy lives far later in life because they intentionally chose an environment that was conducive to that.
Absolutely. And you see it much more now here in the summertime as we're transitioning, right? Like, you look at the Toronto, like on Lakeshore, and you can either drive by, things like that, walk by. And when you're in the city, you can see that like all different ages, they're with their dogs, they're with their kids, and everybody's just out taking in the breath of the fresh air, you know what I mean? And things like that. And then there's some climates that we're in, because you can't do that in the wintertime over here.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to just trek in winter boots and snowsuit, like, you know what I mean?
You're
and
not
stuff
going
like
out
that.
for a stroll.
Exactly. So it can be a little bit challenging. And I always be like, I don't know what burnout ever looks like. And I work a lot of hours. I do like 50 to 60. And I try to tell the guys, I'm like, hey, listen, like, you got to make time to balance. Yeah. Like, if you're not balancing, the number one priority, you say it, be in the gym. Yeah. Like, after I'm done this podcast, at some point this afternoon, I'm going to be going to the gym. You know what 100%. I mean? Got up, ate breakfast, did what we needed to do. It's a long weekend, right? So it's just like, set up time for yourself, practice self-care, because it's the only way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that when you are mentally acute, you can do so much more in so much less time. And when you are burnt out and you're exhausted and you're running on fumes, you may work long hours, but you're not actually accomplishing anything. And so that's the crazy thing, is that people don't want to take a time away from their work to go work out, to go to the gym, whatever the case, because they think they could get more done. But what they don't realize is because their state is lowered so dramatically in terms of their effectiveness that, they might put in that extra hour of work, but they're not actually accomplishing anything meaningful. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I feel it also speaks to our KPIs in business. The measure, the success. Speak on that, because I feel like majority of people don't understand what KPI means. So it's like, how do we track that with business? How do we track that with content creation and things like that?
It's having a focus, right? It's KPIs and activity. The more structure you have in your business, the more freedom you have. Super counterintuitive. People think like, if I have a structure, if I commit to a weekly execution plan, if I have, something that I do the same way repetitively, that I'm taking away my freedom. What they don't realize is that the more structure you have, the more freedom you will have, because you get so much more done in less time, that then you do have the freedom to take the flexibility in the other times and spaces of your life. But KPIs are so essential because it's like the anchor. It's like, why are you doing what you're doing, and what is the outcome that you're attempting to achieve with it? And a lot of people don't know. A lot of employees don't know. A lot of business owners are frustrated because their employees are not productive or profitable. And what they don't realize is that they're not productive or profitable because there's no anchor. Where are we going? And why are we going there? And what is our plan to get there? And so until the CEO gets really clear on what those KPIs are, it's really hard to surround yourself with a winning team that's going to be able to help you to get to your ultimate destination.
Absolutely. And when we look at the KPIs, right, I think one of the biggest things is, should business owners do like a 3, 6, 9-month plan? Or yearly, or is that just depending on the business?
I mean, I think the market has changed so much in the last couple of years that, if you asked me that question a couple of years ago, I would say you set them, the year before, and you stick to them for the entire year. Now things are changing so rapidly, and you can't operate that way anymore, right? I think you have to reset every 30 days and make sure that what you're doing is working, make sure that those KPIs are still the right KPIs, make adjustments to how you're approaching them. So I would have answered that very differently a couple of years ago, but with where we are today, I would definitely say reviewing every 30 days just to make sure. The ideal situation is to set it and forget it, and to keep those same KPIs and execute against the same plan over a period of time. But when the market is changing and shifting really rapidly the way that it is right now, you just can't do that. You can't set it and forget it with anything. You have to be constantly re-reviewing, re-evaluating, and testing to see whether or not what you're doing is working.
So when you're looking at the testing, because this is interesting, this is like new developments for me, because over here in Canada, the economy is one thing. Like, don't even get me started. We could go political podcast now. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
And I just know it's the same thing over there in America.
It is the
I
Wild
feel like,
West, man. It's insane.
It's wild out there. And it's like, I even see it in the corporation that I work with. It's like there's an up and then there's a down.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, it's kind of getting to the point where, should we like be worried about like our job? Like,
yeah.
Should we, the word of entrepreneurship is so loaded now that I feel like everybody wants to do it, right? Because there's so many different ways you can go, and things like that. But it's like, is that the way you're supposed to go, or do you just stick as, working your 9 to 5? Like, what we doing? What we doing?
I mean, it's a good thought. And this is what I'll say. I came from Fortune 500. I worked a job for over a decade, and I learned everything that I know from that. So, I mean, I'm super, super thankful for that time. Entrepreneurship is certainly harder and more stressful than working a job. I'll say that, because the buck stops with you for everything. So you exchange the freedom of, setting your own hours and deciding your own journey and, creating your own offers and building things your own way. You exchange that for taking on a lot of added stress and a lot of added responsibility, right? And I think it's good and right for some people, and it's not good and right for other people. And I think starting a side hustle is a great way to go. Like if I was having that thought, if I was an employee and I was having that thought right now, like I was watching and I was like, not sure about this. Like, I'm concerned, I would be starting a side hustle. And then it gives you a taste of entrepreneurship, and it gives you a taste of what it's going to be like to own your own business. And for some people, they do that and they're like, no, I just want to keep this as a hobby. I'll make a little bit of extra money, but like, I want to keep my job. And for other people, they started and they fall in love with it and they realize this is what they're meant to do. And then they can build an exit path. I have always recommended against people quitting their jobs to build a business. I think that's like the worst strategy you can have. I didn't. I kept my job for over 5 years. And I'm so glad that I did, because it created stability for me. I was able to reinvest in my company. I could build debt free. Like, there's just so many things that came as a byproduct of that. But I think that it's just super risky, especially in today's climate. And you have to have a really long runway. So unless you're like independently wealthy and you just have like money to burn to put into the business, it's like you need money coming in from somewhere to be able to even fund getting your business off the ground and to the level where you could do it full time if you wanted to.
I love that you said that. You hit the points, because I feel like so many people are like, I want to jump in the deep end. Let me just jump right now in the deep end. Let's get it started. Yeah.
The amount of stress that causes for people, it's a message that's been perpetuated by so many people, and I don't know why, because it's not healthy. Like, the level of stress that people go through making that leap. Like I said, I mean, if you're independently wealthy and you have a few $100,000 sitting in the bank that you're like, I don't know what to do with this money. And you're like just ready to dump it. Cool. But I mean, unless that's your situation, I think you want to keep a stream of income coming in while you build.
Absolutely.
That's just my recommendation.
Absolutely. I had a guest, he was on Big Brother Canada, say the exact same thing when he won the show. And the first thing he was like, when I did the 100K and he won, he goes, that's what made me come out of the house and take a couple months to say, hey, listen, let me now get out of the 9-to-5 hustle.
Sure.
Let me be a solo, if it's content creator, entrepreneur, and just ride the wheels till they come home. Yeah. But then in the same thing, I would say is, if you're in a relationship with a spouse, I feel like whatever the level of the relationship is, and maybe somebody can take that sacrifice. Yeah. But then it's like, you have to have that open communication dialogue with your person to be like, okay, maybe in 4 months from now, I'm going to take a step here.
Absolutely.
How do we feel about that?
Yeah.
Are we financially stable to do that? You know what I mean? And things like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you talk about communication. I love it. I love about the communication aspect, building teams, right? Speak to somebody like myself that's in process of building a team. I mean, maybe putting on like 2 people on the team just to help out, distribute work and things like that.
I think that it's really hard to build a sustainable business without a team. There's just 95% of what needs to get done. You're just not the right person to do it, right? If you look at what it takes to build a successful business, there are so many diverse skill sets and things that you need to do and execute on that one person can't possibly be the best person to do all of those things. And I think that there is definitely a case for the fact that if you outsource correctly in the beginning, you take back your time and you spend your time on sales and marketing related activities, that not only will you make back the money from hiring help, but then you'll also be able to leap yourself forward even more so from there. So I definitely think that building a team from day one is the way to go. I think that you have to quickly transition from you hire someone to outsource tasks to get admin and operations and scheduling and like all that tactical stuff off your plate. But then once you get that person in place, then you need to hire someone that's going to help you with producing revenue. They're going to help you with visibility. They're going to help you to generate leads and close sales so that you have a money engine working in the business and that it's not just you. So those are the first 2 things I would really think about from a team perspective.
I love that. I love that. Where do you feel like there's fear that comes into bringing the right people in versus the wrong people in?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of fear just because, it does take multiple hires to find the right person for a job. And I think a lot of people get really overwhelmed and frustrated and fearful in that process because it can be very tumultuous when you hire someone and they're not the right fit. And then you have to start the process over and you kind of have the boomerang effect, right? But I think realizing that that is natural. It does take multiple hires many times to find the right person for the job. It's not the end of the world. You're going to do your due diligence. You're going to set things up the right way. You're going to do your absolute best with onboarding. But at the end of the day, you can't control another human. And you also can't identify everything about someone in an interview process. I always say, like, until someone has been stress tested, you don't know who you're working with. You have no idea who that person is until they've been through a stress test in your business. And so I think just thinking about it from that perspective is really important, and playing the long game and just keeping anchored into your vision, because if your vision is to build a business, not just to have a job that you own for yourself that starts and ends with you, but to have an actual business, then you need people, and there's no other way to do it, which means that you have to just go through the steps of the learning process to build a system around hiring, build a system around onboarding, build a system around managing people to help them to thrive.
So basically, when you're going to hire, go through the interview process, but have multiple resumes on deck.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I mean, I tell my, leaders, always be recruiting, always be recruiting. And the position's not filled until the person starts in the job and is moving their way through onboarding. And you're like, yes, this is the right person. Because like I said, you don't truly know someone until they've been stress tested. You have no idea who you're dealing with.
For sure. For sure. What fills your cup when it comes down to business?
What fills my cup? Well, I mean, I love to teach. I love to serve. I love to create. I love doing things like what we're doing right now. I think there's so much that I have personally been through in building my companies. I have a portfolio of 6 companies, that there's so much that I can share that will help other people's journey to progress faster and easier. And so I love that. I love being able to give that gift to other people. I love being able to be front and, center when I see my clients have massive success in their businesses and achieve really meaningful life milestones, and be able to do things for their families that they never dreamed possible, and be able to, whether it's retire their spouse or book their family's vacation or pay for their parents' home, or, whatever the case is, just being a part of someone's journey to success and making their dreams come true. And the third thing I would say is just, being able to translate that back to, my own family and the way that we've lived our life, and the amount of attention and focus that we're able to dedicate to my daughter, and the way that we raise her. And, entrepreneurship has certainly been a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm. When people hear the story, just of the tidbits, the audience, the males, the females, what can they learn from working with you, right? Mm-hmm. As far as you building the 6 businesses and things like that, and really circumvent success, the actual meaning of success.
Yeah, well, I think there's, I think first of all, just from my own value standpoint and belief standpoint, faith, family, freedom, fun, fulfillment, all of those things, learning how to do a work-life integration that allows you to build an extraordinary company without losing yourself in the process. So that, I think, is something very unique about the way that I teach and what I model in everything that I do. From a business standpoint, I teach systems, and I teach systems that people can put in their business and repeat over and over again to produce an outcome and a result. And that includes the way people launch. It includes a sales system, a marketing system, team building, management, all of those things. So it's creating predictability and sustainability in your business for growth. And, the other thing is just people learning what makes a business work. And it's so crazy because so many people get into the world of entrepreneurship with some idea of what they think this is going to be, but they don't truly understand how a business functions and how to make a business grow and how to sustain it and how to build it and manage it and all of those things. So it's just helping fill those gaps for people so that they can go from an idea, a vision that they have of what they want to create, to actually actioning it to get real results.
Oh, I love that you say that. What is the coaching looking like? Is it more you've probably written a book at some point, or you're in the process of writing a book? Many books. So speak on that. Let's speak on those books. Speak on those books real quick before we get out of here.
Yeah.
What can they get this an introduction when it comes to a book?
So the live launch book teaches you how to do live launches, which is selling one-to-many online with live streaming. So super powerful. It's a methodology I've taught to over 100,000 people around the globe, and it's what catapulted us to an 8-figure business. We've helped other people build multiple 7, 8-figure businesses. So that's what the live launch book is all about. Conviction marketing is a full-blown marketing system, a protocol that breaks down how to be consistent, disruptive, innovative, thought leadership, all of those things, without following trends, fads, or, these things that you see online that maybe feel out of alignment, or are things that come and go really quickly that are going to make your content irrelevant in days, months, or weeks, right? Bigger Than You is about building your dream team. So it's all about building an unstoppable dream team that can help you make your dreams come true. And Unstoppable is all about the 9 principles for unlimited success in business and in life. So it's about the mentality of success, the principles of success, the things that you need to kind of have at the forefront as you begin your building process that are going to be the core things that will allow you to continue to have success at new and higher levels all throughout your life.
Love that you say that. Because I'm gonna have to tap into all that because you're saying some powerful things. You know what I mean?
All on Amazon, so super one click. Kelly Roach.
One click.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything audiobook related or no?
I think I have the audiobook of Unstoppable. And maybe Bigger Than You. No. Okay. Unstoppable and Live Lunch, I think maybe I have. Okay. I think there's 2 of them. They're on audiobook. I have some catching up to do with getting everything on audio.
It's all good. I like to put my guests on the spot. Yeah, I put my guests on the spot when I'm ready sometimes, you know what I mean, and things like that. No, because what I gather from you, just from this quick conversation that we have, is that I get a lot of a warmth from you, but then also, too, is there a psychology background somewhere in there, too?
Well, I went to school for communications. I took some psychology classes, but I mean, I think it is all about communicating. It's all about people. It's all about connecting, right? That's all we're here to do. And that's how we move people is connecting with them. And yeah. And I think you learn a lot about human behavior, building teams and serving hundreds of clients in the close proximity that we do. So I've had some school of hard knocks, some lessons that way too, you know?
Love that you say that. Love that you say that. Well, before we get out of here, plug all the information. Where can people check up, look what you got going on, all that good stuff, and any upcoming launches that you have that you want to promote also too?
Well, I would say just come and listen to the Kelly Roach Show. I have over 1,000 episodes. I record new episodes every single week. And I teach everything from sales and marketing and team building and systems, mindset, mental toughness, like the trends, what you need to know about doing business in today's climate, how to succeed. So the Kelly Roach Show is definitely the best place to go. And then you can come and follow along on Instagram or connect with me on Facebook.
Love that you say that. Well, I appreciate you. Thank you and so I'm definitely going to have to support it. For sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And thank you so much. It was a great conversation today. And I hope everybody listening will go out and take some action to make their dreams come true.
That's all it's about. We got to take action. Right? If we're not taking any action, we're not going to get any results.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.